All right, we're back, guys. We're back with another video. I wanted to do a video about this right here, and I know this is going to bring out the trolls. It is going to bring out the trolls in mass because a lot of people have their opinions about resets and recaps and stuff like that. So we're going to go through here, and we're going to talk about how much money you can make on recaps versus a 34-hour reset. Now, I know there's a lot of different people out there that's going to say, well, if you take a 34-hour reset, you're losing out on money being made. Well, at specific companies, if you do what I call the 6-8 rule, okay, you can run for 6 days, make $800 a day or thereabouts, and you can still come up at $4,800 a day or $4,800 a week. With basically a 8-day work rule, which is $600 a day for 8 days, you're going to make $4,800 for the entire week. The difference between is that a 6-day work week requires a 34-hour reset. An 8-day work week requires recaps. So, how much money can you make? Okay, let's do this right here. Real quick first. So let's talk hours of service for just a second. Now let me go ahead and kind of just do this real quick. So hours of service, we're going to put this up in the corner right here. So HOS, hours of service. All right, so you've got your clock. You've got a 70. You've got a 14. You've got an 11, and you've got an 8. All right, so on your 70 clock is how many hours you have to run per week. Your 14 is how many hours that you can actually work a day. The 11 is how many hours you can drive, and the 8 is how many hours you can drive before you have to take a 30-minute break. A lot of people will not talk about this one right here. And the reason why is because typically when you do this, in an 11-hour run clock or drive time. So let's do this real quick. Okay, so 70 hours. You guys know about the 14-hour work day. Let's go ahead and take these two off here real quick. And let's talk about your 11-hour and your 8-hour. Okay. You can run an entire 11 hours. Do you want to? Probably not. You want to run on average between 8 and 10 hours. So 8 to 10 hours. Oh my goodness. 8 to 10 hours per day. Okay? Now, in order to reset this one right here and get 8 hours back, typically what I do is out of those 11 hours, I will run typically I'll run about 6 hours. So 6 hours. Before I actually reset this clock. So at a 4-hour mark, so you got 4 hours left on your clock, I will stop after 6 hours, do a 30-minute break, and still have, let me think, how am I going to do this? And still have, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 4 hours left to run. But a lot of times, I'll have like anywhere between 4 and 5 hours left for the day. Okay? So You can take as many 30-minute breaks as you want. Okay. I personally wouldn't do it, but a lot of people do not, do not account for this 8-hour clock right here. All right, so you're running 8 to 10 hours a day. Okay. Let's go ahead and take that off. So you're 8 to 10 hours, right? So you're running 8 to 10 hour days. And let's say you run 6 days per week. In order to get a $4,800 gross paycheck or gross week, you have to run, or you have to make $800 per day. Okay. And this is for a 34-hour reset. Okay. So minimum on the high side, 4,800. Minimum on the low side, 4,200, right? So 4,200, 6 times 7 is 42, 6 times 8 is 48. So 6 times 7. So if you run 7 days if you run 7 days at $600 a day, you're going to get $4,200. If you run 6 days, $800 a day, you're going to get $4,800 a week. Okay. This is where you would take your reset. You would run your clock completely down to the nub for 6 days straight and bust your butt. That's, anywhere between 4 and 5 loads, maybe possibly 3 to 4 loads. Okay. Depending on how much each load is, how far you got to go distance wise and stuff like that. So on recaps, if you do recaps and you're running 8 to 10 hour days, you're going to run 600. Let's see, you're going to run $600 per day, 8 to 10 hours a day, and you have to run an 8-day week. At the end of those 8 days, you're going to start recapping. So you're going to get, let's say you have, let's say you got 8 days coming back, but you've got 4 hours left on your 70-hour clock. You're fixing to get 8 hours back tomorrow or at midnight. That's 12 hours that you're going to be able to run on the 9th day. So on the day that you start recapping, so you're going to be running 12 hours. Okay. Well, you can run another 8 days, but you're only going to be making, if you do it how I do the math here, if you're only running 8 days at $600 a day, you're still only making $4,800 a week. I look at it like this: if you're gonna run for 8 days straight and start recapping on the day that you start recapping, and you get your hours back or some hours back, the problem that I find with this is you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn yourself out really, really fast. Now, some companies, well, let me just put it like this, okay? You can make, it's the same amount you can make on each one of them. And okay, I had to check that for a second. But you can make the same amount whether you're recapping or not. The problem is the company. If the company is going to have you running, if the company is going to have you running and then sitting for a whole day, you're losing money. If you're just sitting for a whole day, you're just losing money. So recapping doesn't really work if you let me put it like this. Okay? Let's forget about that right there for just a second. Let's go 8, 8, 9, 8, 7. So you got, there's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So there's 40 hours right there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then you have this big old fat 0 right here down at the bottom. All right. When that 0 comes around, at the end of, let's say this right here is like the bottom half of your hours, okay? When that big old fat 0 comes around because you were sitting for a whole day with no load, guess what's going to happen? And you've only got, let's say you've only got 2 hours left on your 70. And you can't go anymore, but you're sitting there, so you got to sit that day. Or you got to sit after you get done with this day right here. You have to sit for the rest of this day and a whole day here. And then when you come up to the next day, which is, let's say it's 8 hours the day after that, yeah, you're going to get 10 hours back, but you may as well go ahead and do a 34-hour reset because you're already going to be sitting for, let's say, from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. That's 12 hours. Then you roll around to 8 o'clock the next morning. So 8 to 8. Eight to 8, there's 12. And then you got another 8 o'clock in the morning to back to 8 o'clock at night. There's another 12. So you're going to be sitting here. 8, that's another 12. That's 24. You may as well go ahead and sit for another, see, 8 to 6. You may as well go ahead and sit for another 10 hours and get your 34 in. Because there's no point in trying to run on that 0. There's no point. All right? I don't know if this is making sense to y'all, but it makes sense to me. So, in order to make money, and this is the crazy thing about it, okay? So, in order to make money off of any of this, you have to make $600 to $800 per day. That's what you need to make as a lease operator or owner operator in this business right now. A lease operator definitely, in order to make any kind of profit. So, what are the pros of recapping? Well, recapping, you can keep running, but if you ain't got no hours of recap at the end, you're not going to be able to run. So the pros, oh my goodness. The pros are you can keep running. You're not going to make any more money than what you're already going to make to begin with, but you can keep running. And if you keep recapping and keep recapping the same hours over and over and over again, you can keep running for, well, you can keep running for a long time. All right? That's the only pro that I see, that you can keep running. There's no more money to be made, but you can keep running. All right? All right, so the cons of recapping. Let's look at the cons for a second. Well, you can only recap so much before you end up at zero hours or less, or 0 to less hours. On the clock. Okay, cons. Another con. Burnouts. You're gonna burn yourself out. You're gonna be out there and you're gonna be just running your ass off, and you're gonna end up burning yourself out. Okay. Recaps also affect your home time. I cannot spell today. I cannot spell today at all. Or they can affect home time. Okay? So, I mean, if you got, let's say you're supposed to go home on that day that you're going to recap that 0 hours, and you only got 2 hours left on your clock, and it's 4 hours to your house. Well, that affects your home time. If you got to be there for a doctor's appointment on the day that big old fat 0 comes around, well, guess what? You can't go nowhere. That's where personal conveyance comes into play. But most companies won't let you personal conveyance past 50 miles. So the pros, you can keep running. The cons, 0 to less hours, burnout, affecting home time. Okay? Now, let's talk about the pros of a 34-hour reset. So, pros for a 34-hour reset. Well, you're going to reset hours. You're not going to get burned out. And if you set it up right, you can take your home time during the 34-hour reset. Okay? Now, like I said, the way it's set up is that you can make anywhere between $4,200 and $4,800 a week, $600 to $800 a day, and it still comes out to the same, $600 to $800 a day. So you're going to make $800 a day. You're going to do your 34-hour reset, and you're going to reset your hours. You're not going to be burned out, and you can take home time on your reset. Simple as that. On top of that, when you come out of home time, and this is the crazy thing about it, is a lot of these companies, like Hirschbach, they'll give you 2 loads before you go home, and they'll expect you to come out a day later. Well, what if you need to take 2 days? What if you got an appointment on one day and then you can't get your medication until the next day? There's always that possibility, right? So there's that. Now, let's talk about the cons of the 34-hour reset. So the cons would be that you could possibly all right, so the cons of a 34-hour reset would be, let's see, what would be a con of a 34-hour reset? I wouldn't say there's any real cons. I mean, you know, you're losing money by sitting, technically, but technically you're not losing money by sitting because you've already made your $800 a day. So, I mean, I would have to say possible money loss. That's the only con that I can think of, that you might lose some money on it. But I mean, I'd say probably truck idling. So losing fuel that you can't get back. But I mean, if you've got an APU, then you won't have to worry about that. But if you got just your opti idle, it's going to start probably every 6 to 7 hours anyways, and it's going to run for a couple hours, and then, you know, I mean, you're going to lose a little bit of fuel. That's probably about it. So, I mean, the pros and cons of it. All right. Now, so a lot of companies, like, let's talk about companies that do recaps. All right. So Prime, Inc., R.E. Garrison, Hirschbach, and let's try one more. Let's see. Oh, Stevens. What do all 4 of these companies have in common? They're able to use split sleeper, and they're all reefer companies. Damn cat. She's so annoying sometimes. Split sleepers and they're reefer companies. So that's what all these companies have in common right here. Now, these are the kind of companies right here that do recaps. And the reason they do recaps is because, first of all, most of them are slow as sin. All right, so you got Hirschbach, who is at 70 mile an hour. Stevens, I believe, is 65. Garrison is 70. And Prime Ink is 65. Okay? The speed really doesn't make that big of a difference, other than the fact that you're going to get there probably about 30 minutes faster via 70 mile an hour than you will 65 mile an hour. It's the only real difference. Most drivers over at Prime Ink roll at about 60 mile an hour because they got so much damn time on their freaking loads and they get paid for so much for the loads that they don't really have to worry about it. Now, the difference between R.E. Garrison and Prime Ink and Hirschbach and Stevens, let's do this right here. So Prime Ink and Garrison, let's do this. Prime Ink and Garrison are percentage based, and Hirschbach and Stevens are mileage. Okay, I think Stevens is $1.05 a mile for their contractors, and I showed you guys in the last video what Hirschbach's pay scale was looking like, but I think Stevens is $1.05 a mile loaded and empty. I think they may only get paid like either half or 3/4 for being empty, but the difference is percentage versus mileage. You're actually going to make less over here than you will over here. Okay. And yes, recaps and resets do affect pay. Let's say you go home and you're going to do a recap while you're at, or a reset while you're at the house, but you go home like a day before cutoff, and you're going to spend 34 hours at the house, then you're going to eat a little bit of, a bullet there. But at the same time, if you're only getting 2 loads, let's say Hirschbach, they only give you 2 loads before you go to the house, and it's right before cutoff, you're only going to get paid for those 2 loads. Matter of fact, you probably won't even get paid. You're only going to probably get paid for a load and a half, because they're going to be like, oh, well, you got there, but something happened to the system, and we only could pay you half this week, so we'll pay you the next half the other week. I don't understand that, right? That's another thing too, and I may also bring that up too. Half paychecks, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, this is something that I'm kind of looking at. And when I look at these companies, when I look at the company after I've been there for a little bit, I look at the company and I'm like, hey, this is the stuff that I ask about. Like, what the hell's going on here? Why am I not getting paid? This is what I'm supposed to be getting paid right here, and it's exactly what I tell the dispatcher: $600 to $800 per day. If you are giving me loads, you need to make sure that every single time it adds up between $600 to $800 a day. If it's going to be $800 a day, then guess what? That's fine. If you've got a load, that's paying, if you got a load that's paying $1,600, for 2 days of work. That's $800 a day. On that third day, though, I need another load that's going to pay either $1,600 or greater. So $1,600 or greater for 2 more days of work. You can't find me 4 days right there. That right there alone is $3,200. And that'll cover most of my fuel for those 4 days, or actually probably all of my fuel for those 4 days, and my truck payments. Any other money that's made is all profit. And so that's where we're at. That's where we're at. If you're not making $600 to $800 a day, minimum, on the low side, $4,200, low side, $4,200, high side, $4,800. And that's minimum. Period. Math doesn't lie, guys. The math doesn't lie. And if you actually do the math, you'll see that these companies, some of them are shortchanging you. So you got to be careful about that too. When I was at Hirschbach, I didn't get paid for. There was 1 week that I didn't get paid. I ran the entire week and didn't get paid at all. That's before I went home. Came out of home time. I was sick when I come out of home time. I run 4 other weeks, and out of those 4 weeks, I got 1 paycheck that was over $1,000 out of 4 weeks being sick, and I ran sick. So that right there. That's where you need to be. Math doesn't lie, guys. But anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys and coming out and watching the channel. Yeah, let's just go ahead and put that up there real quick, right? Let's do this. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well to know when I go live. But anyways, I'll see you guys next video. All right, I'm out.